Thank you once again for taking time to invest your growth and expertise. Let's get started. Mr. Steven, the floor is yours, please. All right, Mr. Steven, the floor is yours.
All right. So I was trying to unmute myself. Yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the brief introduction. Welcome everyone to today's technical webinar. My name is Stephen from Alpsolarr. I will be taking you through the session today, and we're going to be exploring the topic, which is the Alpsolarr Eco-Hybrid Inverters. I'm encouraging every one of us to stay committed to the end of this session. There will be opportunities to ask questions and answers will be provided accordingly. So I'm promising that's going to be a very short session. So please, I'm encouraging us to stay together. So I will start by um, just giving us a brief introduction to our series of inverters available in the market for now, the Alpsolarr Pulse series of grid hybrid inverters products. The first one you see there is our Pulse H2 single phase low voltage inverter. It's an off-grid inverter. That is our 11 kilowatt inverter. We do normally call it Pulse H2. And also we have Pulse H3. That is our 6 kilowatt inverter as well. Also single phase inverter. And also our 8 kilowatt inverter, which will be coming to the Nigerian market very soon, hopefully by the ending of March or early April. So the next thing you'll be seeing is our R&D testing environment. Yeah, I think I should wait till we get to the slide, the R&D testing environment. You know, unlike some other companies that the marketplace is their testing ground, you know, it is not like that for us at Apsola. We have a standard testing lab, you know, that we put our inverters through to ensure that they are highly compatible to the market we are sending them to. What you can see by the right-hand side is what we call the aging room, where the thermal endurance of the inverters, you know, are being tested to ensure that they can, to ensure and ascertain that they can endure the, you know, adverse weather condition that we have in Africa. Like we, like we always say in Absola, you know, this product is actually built with Africa in mind. Yeah. So this is just our testing environment to ensure that they are highly compatible, you know, and highly durable for our continent. So now let's go properly into the introduction of our inverters. You know, we're going to be looking at the unique selling point of the inverters and what makes it stand out, you know, from every other product out there. So I'm going to be talking about the brief introduction and the key features of our inverter. And the first I'm going to be speaking about is our Pulse H3 inverter. And I think the first thing I need to, first of all, call our attention to is that we call this inverter off-grid hybrid inverter. And I think there has been a little bit of confusion as per what an off-grid inverter is. You know, an off-grid inverter is an inverter that can, you know, operate independent of the grid, you know, unlike, you know, what they have in developed country, which is grid-tied inverter, which cannot work outside of the grid, you know, and also they have the opportunity to sell their excess power generation to their grid. But of course, we know that we do not have such facility in Nigeria, so you cannot sell your excess power to the grid. So it's an off-grid system. It does not mean that it cannot take grid input. It can take grid input actually, but it cannot sell excess power to the grid. So basically, at least three of our products right here in Nigeria, they are fully off-grid system. And I think our G2 is our 12 kilowatt inverter. We're going to talk about it later in this session, which is an hybrid. That is the proper hybrid inverter. It can function as an off-grid system and also can function as a grid-tied system. So we're going to get there very soon. I think the first selling point and the first feature that this Pulse H3 inverter has, which is our 6 kilowatt inverter, is that it is rated IP66. It has an ingress protection 66, right? Which makes it suitable for outdoor installation as it is properly, protected against dust and water, right? It makes it suitable for outdoor installation. Like we know, because of some fire incidents that have been directly or indirectly associated with inverter system, some homeowners, which most installers can agree with me, are not that convenient putting their system inside their house. So they are looking for a system that can stay outside while they are inside. So this product is actually suitable for such kind of clients. It can stay conveniently because it is actually protected against dust and water. The next thing you're going to talk about, you're going to see there is our PV input accommodation. I'm in the next slide already, which is it has the 1.7 times the maximum MPPT input power. Under specific conditions, supports up to 2 times the PV input power. What this is talking about is the PV input accommodation of the inverter. Even though it's a 6 kilowatt inverter, it can take up to about 12 kilowatt PV input power. Yes, so it gives you the opportunity to oversize your panels, to oversize your PV, right? So that you have a lot of solar harvest from the sun. So, and the next thing you can see there is that it has a maximum input current of 28 amps, giving you the opportunity to parallel multiple strings of panels, right? So this inverter having the PV input current of 28 amps, right, gives us the opportunity to parallel at most two strings of panels on the roof, can parallel them together because it has a wide range of PV input current of 28 amps. So that is one of the benefits and the advantage of this inverter. In fact, it's a unique selling point. I don't think there are many inverters out there that has the PV input power that is kind of times 2 of the rated capacity of the inverter, and also giving us enough PV input current to maximize, this feature, which is the 28 amps and 35 amps maximum short circuit current given for this inverter. The next unique selling point we have is that it has dual AC output with intelligent load management. So our inverter has two load outputs. The first one, which we call load one, is is for the critical load. This is where you put all the essential loads to, and you can be rest assured that the power will constantly be supplied to all of the loads connected to the load one. Then it has another load, which is called load two. That is another port. We call it smart load, where you put all your non-essential loads on them, depending on the client. For some clients, the air conditioner is a non-essential load to them. They don't need it all the time. For some, it's their washing machine. For some, there are other appliances that they do not need all the time. They put such appliances on load two, and then they can set the smart load against the SOC of the battery. Let's say you can say once my battery is 80%, all the loads on smart load can come on. And when it is, let's say 40%, all the loads, can go down. All of this is just to help you to intelligently manage your load and give more priority to your critical load, right? And of course, it supports battery-free operation mode. This inverter can take input from the grid and works independent of the battery. It can take input from the panels and work independent of the battery. So without battery, with the input from the PV, it's working fine. With input from the grid, it's working fine. And of course, works with your battery as well. So it has a maximum discharge design of 135 amps. This is another beautiful feature about this inverter. With a discharge design of 135 amps, it means this inverter can discharge 6 kilowatt power. At the same time, there are some inverters that they cannot discharge 100% of the capacity. There might be 6 kilowatt inverter, but they cannot discharge the full 6 kilowatt at the same time. But this inverter having a discharge design of 135 amps, we can do the calculation, depending on the voltage. Of course, this inverter is a 48 volt system. 135 times 48, that is 6 kilowatt above, So it means this inverter can discharge all of its capacity to your load to meet your load demand. And then the next unique selling point about this system is the fact that it is scalable. It allow parallel operation up to about 6 units when you are connecting as a single phase system. And then if you are arranging them in 3 phases, it can take up to 9 units of an inverter. So it gives your client that wants to grow, small, they want to grow small, it gives them the opportunity to start small, right? So let's say it's a client that wants an 18 kilowatt system, but do not have the financial capacity to start up with a 18 kilowatt system. It can start with just 6, and over time it can scale to meet up with his inverter system. So, and the next thing there is, I think I've said it before, both your AC and your PV can activate the lithium battery. Both the AC and PV can charge the battery and also can first charge the battery when the battery is up to 0%, is down to 0% rather. Your grid and your PV can first charge the battery to come back, to the normal SOC level. Also, it has a wide grid voltage adaptation range of 90 to 280 VAC. This is very perfect for the Nigerian electricity. I don't want to say for most part of the Nigeria, we have unstable grid, and that means we have unstable voltage. So this inverter is built to work with low voltage and even as high as high voltage. So as more as 90 volts, the inverter is working fine, taking input from the grid, and as high as up to about 280 volts, this guy is still working fine. Yeah, of course, that leads me to the next unique selling visual, which is that it has 1.5 times grid input over provisioning technology, right? So what this is saying in essence is that this inverter can take more power from the grid than its rated capacity. So though it's a 6 kilowatt inverter, it can take up to about 8 or 9 kilowatts from the grid, and then it will take it easily without damage to the component of the inverter. So you can take more power, from the grid to charge your battery and supply to your load at the same time. It has a minimum MPPT operating voltage of 60 VDC. This is one of the most beautiful features I love about this inverter, how that it needs just 60 volts, for it to start working early in the morning. So it means early in the morning while the sun is not yet out, so far the panels can generate up to about 60 volts. The inverter starts working, and even late in the evening, so far you can still get up to 60 volts. The inverter is already activated through the PV. So what does that mean? That means that you are going to have more solar harvest, unlike some other system where their minimum MPPT operating voltage is around 120. I know some inverter that their minimum operating voltage is 120, some 150, but as low as 60 VDC, the system is working perfectly fine. And of course, it has compressive hardware protection. It's an IP66 system, so it is well built to withstand the harsh, temperature and harsh weather condition of it being outside. So, and that is why we can guarantee a 5 years warranty on this system. So the next slide talks about the power specifications and datasheet of the system, which I will not want to take much time on since I've said a little on that. Okay, I think what I'll just talk about there is that it is well protected. It has a lot of protection. If you look at the protection side, it has DC polarity protection. DC reverse polarity connection protection means when you interchange your DC, your PV input, your PV input cable, if you interchange it, the negative to the positive, the positive to the negative, there's a lot of protection on the inverter to forgive that mistake, right? And of course, it has AC output overcurrent protection. So we have AC output over voltage protection. What that is saying is that, in case of overload, the inverter is well protected to preserve itself from the damage that overload can cause to the system. Thermal protection. This is an IP66 system. which is designed to be outside, it is so much protected against high temperature that as high as, I'm talking from experience now, as high as about 65, 70 degrees Celsius, we have seen this system working perfectly fine with just about 5% derating. This is from experience, and we have evidence to back it up. This system is actually built with a lot of thermal endurance, and other protection there. When it comes to voltage category, it has over voltage category 2, over voltage category 3. Those are high-end over voltage protections that has been given for this system. And of course, it's an IP66 system. One of the things you should expect with IP66 system, because of its way it is built, to preserve water ingression and dust ingression, is that it's well covered. So there's high possibility that the temperature that comes from the system will be very high. That is why our inverter is both equipped with heat sink, to conduct the heat outside, and also with fan. You will most likely not find that combination in some system. If it has an heat sink, it's not gonna have fan as well. So our inverter, combining the two systems together, gives you the assurance that it is well ventilated, and then there's an assurance for smart cooling. And the next thing I would like to talk about here is the communication. It has RS-232 communication protocol, RS-485 CAN, dry contact, your external battery NTC, which is negative terminal coefficient. All of these communication protocols gives you the assurance, that this inverter is well compatible with a wide range of lithium batteries out there. At the end of this session, you're going to see a list of batteries, which is not exhaustive, right? A list of batteries that this inverter is actually, all of our inverters are actually compatible with. So I'll move straightly to our Pulse S2, which is our 11 kilowatt system. The first thing you're seeing there is that it has built-in dual MPPT, right? Our 6 kilowatt inverter has just a single MPPT, while our 11 kilowatt inverter, which is Pulse S2, has 2 MPPT, right? And it has a PV input power of 1.5 times its rated power. So this is an 11 kilowatt inverter, but it has a PV input power accommodation that is times 1.5. So that means it has 16,500 PV accommodation. So again, it gives you the opportunity to oversize your panels. And oversizing your panels is very essential for you to generate more, to harvest more power from the sun, right? So especially when we're going to the rainy season, when the sun is not that much, oversizing your panels gives you the opportunity to, have enough power needed for your load design. So each of the MPPT channels support a maximum input current of 27 amps, allowing for multiple strings of photovoltaic panels connected in parallel. What that is saying is that it does not only give you PV input power of 16,500 alone, it also gives you enough PV input current, which is 27 amps, which gives you the opportunity to maximize that power. So with the PV input voltage of 500 volts, right, and 27 amps, it gives you the opportunity to arrange your panels both in series and parallel to maximize the PV input power accommodation that is given on this inverter. And of course, it has dual AC outputs with intelligent load management. Just like I said, for the 6 kilowatt inverter, two load output gives you the opportunity to prioritize the power of your inverter to your critical loads and your critical appliances alone. Of course, it also supports paralleling operation. It can parallel up to 6 units in a single phase system and up to 9 units in a 3-phase system. This gives you opportunity and privilege for scalability. Like I said, both AC and PV inputs can activate the lithium battery. So it means if the AC input and the PV input can both charge the battery and also force charge it to get back to the normal SOC. And also it has wide grid voltage adaptation range, just like the S3, from 90 volts to 280 VAC. The system is working fine. It is designed to work with low voltage from the grid and high voltage from the grid. So because this is an IP21 system, we're promising a 2-year warranty and a 1-year free service on our Pulse S2 11 kilowatt system. And the next slide will be on the product specification and the proper data sheet. So one of the things I would like to point our attention to here is that it has a charging current of 150 amps. If you multiply that by 50, by 51.2 or whatever is your charging voltage, you know that this guy has enough power to, charge your batteries as fast as possible. And with a discharge design of 220 amps, you know how much power this inverter can, discharge your load at once. This inverter can discharge 11 kilowatt, at once to inverter. This is not 11 kVA system with power factor, less than 1. This is an 11 kilowatt system with a power factor of 1, right? So it means it can discharge its full capacity to your load. And that's why it has that discharge current of 220 amps, right? So for 48-volt system, it has two PV input, right? So, and I told you that the PV input power is 16,400. So each of the MPPT can take 8,250, and the two together is 16,500. Each of those MPPT has 500 volt PV input voltage. And of course, each of them has 27 amps PV input current. And also, each of them has maximum short circuit current per MPPT of 35 amps. So we are giving you enough parameters to maximize the power, the PV input power of the system. And of course, it has same protection as our 6 kilowatt inverter. They are built to have same protection, right? And has same communication protocols. It is any system that is compatible with our 6 kilowatt inverter is compatible with any of our products as well. So those are the things that I would love to say about our 11 kilowatt plus H2 inverter. So the next slide here is our WOSA G2 12 kilowatt system. Like I was saying the other time when I was trying to explain the difference between an off-grid system and an hybrid system. Our 12 kilowatt inverter, which is our G2, is what I can call a fully hybrid system. I call it a fully hybrid system in the sense that it does not only have the opportunity or ability to work as an off-grid system alone, it also has the facility to self-power back to the grid. So it can work as a grid type system. So that is why the price is a little bit, more than it's contemporary. It's the 11 kilowatt and the 6 kilowatt. Sometimes people are like, the 11 kilowatt is this price, and your 12 kilowatt is this. What is the why is there difference in the price? It's just that the 11 kilowatt system is an off-grid system, while the 12 kilowatt system is a fully hybrid system. Of course, we do not have the facility in Nigeria to maximize and take advantage of its ability selling power back to the grid, but we believe hopefully at one point or the other in Nigeria, we'll be able to take advantage of that. So of course, it's an IP66 system, it's a very rugged guy. It is suitable for your outdoor installation, just like I explained the other time. Of course, the next thing you see there is LFP/VRLA. It means it is compatible with lithium iron phosphate battery. That's our lithium battery, and also valve regulated lead acid battery. It means your tubular batteries, your lead acid batteries is both all of our inverters are compatible with both lithium batteries and lead acid batteries. So it has 3 MPPT. This guy has 3 MPPT, and I think I should just discuss about the MPPT once and for all. Yeah. So the 3 MPPT, it has 3 MPPT it has 4 strings. So the MPPT1 has 2 strings under it, and those 2 strings are internally parallel. And then the MPPT2 and MPPT3 have just 1 string. So MPPT1 having 2 strings has the highest PV input power. It can take 8,400. That is the PV input power of the MPPT1. And then the MPPT2 and MPPT3 can take 4,800 each. So if you combine them together, this guy, though a 12 kilowatt inverter, has a PV input power of 18 kilowatts. Yeah. So, and also it has a fast charging current of 230 amps. What this means is that you can parallel a lot of battery bank. You can have an extended battery bank for this guy, and it's going to charge them. Many people, design an inverter that does not have enough charging current with a lot of batteries, and you're asking yourself, for how many years is this inverter going to charge this battery? And then let's even say from the PV. So it means all through the day the inverter is busy trying to charge the battery, and it's not even supplying any SS to the load in the house because the charging current is quite small. So this guy having a 230 amps charging current gives you the opportunity to, oversize your battery bank, and you are rest assured that it's charging it. It has both charging and discharging current of 230 amps. It can discharge 12 kilowatt inverter, 12 kilowatt power at the same time. In fact, this guy, when we get to the let me explain that all at the same time because I have to quickly move away. This guy, this 12 kilowatt system is actually 13 kVA because it has a power factor of 0.8, both leading power factor of 0.8, 0.8 power means that this system can accommodate both your inductive and capacitive load, with the tolerance of 0.8 power factor. So in essence, when we are rating it in kVA, we can call it a 13.2 kVA. But when we're talking about the real power, usable power is a 12 kilowatt design system. So I would not want to waste time on um the data sheet properly because I've said most of the things. That it has similar protection, it is IPC, similar communication protocols, and the likes. So the next thing I'm talking about is our product overviews and connections. So the first thing you're going to see is the terminal cover, which is number one. The second thing is the LCD display. The three is the PV. This is our 6 kilowatt inverter. We are using that as an example. That's single MPPT PV. And then that's number four, which is the load two, which is the smart load. And then load five is load one. And then these are other things, the grid port, the Wi-Fi port, the battery port. Of course, that's the Wi-Fi port. Our inverters can be remotely monitored from your phone. Wi-Fi, and the inverter comes with it Wi-Fi dongle. You don't have to buy it separately. The battery port, the COM port, which is for us, and then COM2 port with parallel port, and then of course your switch, your power on and off switch. Then on the right hand side, these are the basic tools that you need for the installation, your pliers, your drills, your heat gun, your crippling pliers, and every other things that you need for normal installation. And of course, one of the things I would like to say in the next slide is the installation angle. Actually, the best angle you should install an inverter like this is to tilt like 15 degrees Celsius backward a little bit, right? But of course, we know that we will not really have the opportunity to have this kind of angles all the time. That is why you can also make it, sit comfortably on your wall, right? It should not bend to the right side or to the left side, like you see, or being stored upside down. This is not accepted and it's not good for the system. So the next thing I would like to talk about is the electrical connection of the system. So as you can see in the diagram, the PV has its own breaker to the PV input port. The smart load has its own breaker to the load two port separately. Same thing with load one, which is the critical load, has its own breaker separately. We do not make a mistake of paralleling the load port, the load one port, which is your critical load, and your load two port, which is your smart load. Even while you are paralleling the system, you do not parallel the smart load port. The smart load port, has to work independently. If you want to parallel three units of an inverter together, you parallel only the load one port, which is the critical port alone. That is why you see that they have a separate breaker in this diagram. And another thing that I want to point our attention to is the breaker specifications that is recommended for this system. For a 6 kilowatt system, you need a battery breaker of 160 amps. If you are using just 160 kilowatt, you need just 160 amps breaker and a 63 volts 160 amp breaker because the maximum discharge current of this guy is 135 amps. So there's nowhere in the world is going to get to a point whereby it's going to discharge 250 amps from the battery. So using a 250 amps breaker for a 6 kilowatt inverter is just sheer wasting of resources, and of course it costs more, and it's not going to be effective for what it is designed for. So a 160 amps breaker is what you need. And also from your grid AC breaker is just the recommended grid current for this guy is just 40 amps. So a 50 amps breaker is okay. Of course, many people use 63 amps, which is why well popular in Nigeria, it's still okay, it's still acceptable. The gap is not that much, right? 3 amps should work. And also for your AC, your load 1 breaker, your load 2 breakers, 50 amps is normal, it's okay for it. And also where I do have problem is the PV. The PV breaker should not exceed 35 amps because the maximum short circuit current for this guy is 35 amps. And then I don't know, there's no way your design of this an high voltage inbuilt MPPT, which allows you to connect your panels in series. And when you are building in series, it means you are not building current. So a 35 amps DC breaker should be enough. And then of course, the next slide is the electrical wiring diagram for a parallel system. So of course, you're paralleling your system. You should parallel your load 1 together. You parallel your grid input together. And of course, you parallel your battery bank also together. Let me quickly say this. Our paralleling is one of the most easiest paralleling system ever you're going to see in the market because it does not stress you at all. All you need is just a communication cable, no load synchronizing cable, no current sharing cable, just a normal single cable. Any RJ45 cable would work. So this inverter, all of our inverters have 2 parallel ports, PRA and PRP. So let's say you're paralleling 3 units together. You have to connect one end of your cable to PRB on the master, to the PRA of the slave, then from the PRB of the slave to the PRA of the last slave. As simple as that. And then you set up your parameter settings on the inverter with your deep switch. So this is when you are paralleling together in 3 phase, right? You can parallel up to 6 units and 9 units of our inverter in single phase system. So these are just the safety procedures that I believe every installer should follow. This is independent of Alpsolarr. This is what you should do even when you are installing other inverters. The protective gears you have to put on. Ensuring that your ground is connected to the inverter. Ensure that you are using the proper cable size for the inverter, and ensure that as much as possible you are connected light system on the right cable to the right port. Yeah. So, and I think the next thing I want to talk about there is the communication protocol. I will only be talking about the BMS communication protocol now. The BMS communication protocol is what you can see is the second one, BMS communication protocol. So most likely the battery you want to use has a RS-485 port or CAN port. So if they're using CAN ports, their pin numbers for a CAN port is pin 4 and 5. I'm sorry, it will be distracted. Yeah, for most inverters, for most batteries rather, that are CAN ports, their pin also is pin 4 and 5. If you are checking the cables, the pin 4 and 5 in most Cat6 cable is color blue and white. I think I'm speaking installer language right now. So in case you find yourself in a situation whereby you want to you want to communicate a battery that uses CAN, with our inverter. So, and it seems as though they don't follow the same pin number. So I'm spelling out the pin for you for Alpsolarr is pin 4 and pin 5. That is color blue and white. So what do? If you open a normal Cat6 cable, it has about 8 pins inside it. So what you do is you remove other cables, other pins there, and leave only color blue and white, because that is our pin. That is pin 4 and pin 5 protocols together with CAN that supports CAN actually. So the next thing you're going to see there is the human machine interface of an inverter. Of course, when you put on the inverter, what are the first thing you're seeing? You're going to see the power on interface of the inverter. I'm going to see a lot of lights blinking. The LCD display, you have the AC and the inverter display. You have the charging LED light that tells you when the inverter is already charging the battery. And of course, you have the 40 red light that shows you when there's a fault on the system. So the next thing you're going to see here, I think, is the description of the symbols we're going to be seeing on the LCD screen. Yeah, this description of the symbol you're going to be seeing on the LCD screens. When you see panels, I don't know I don't think I'm following the slides that is being projected for us. Can we move to the next slide? No, I have moved past this list. I'm conscious of our time. I'll move past it. Can we move to the next slide? Yes. So I just want to talk about the basic symbols on the inverter. Of course, when you see panels, it shows that your PV is directly connected to the system. When you see the sinusoidal symbol, you know, of course, it means your grid is working normally. When you see the battery symbol, you know your battery is connected as well. The bulb signifies the load, and every other symbols that are going to be staying on the screen of the inverter. So when you move to the other side of the page, you see the basic data display interface. So this just show you different interface that our inverter has. Let's take for example, if you want to check the SOC of the battery on the inverter, what do? You press the down button to page 12 of our S2 inverter. If you have our S2 inverter, you press the down button, you navigate down to page 12. If you are using our 6 kilowatt inverter, you navigate down to page 8. Then you see the SOC of the battery right from the inverter. So this is just the basic introduction to how the display interface of the inverter looks like. And then the next thing we have now on the next slide is our parameter settings. Yeah, it's our parameter settings. How do we enter into the settings mode? You will press and hold the enter button. When you press and hold the enter button, then you enter the settings mode. So then you use your up and down button to navigate, and then use your enter button to activate settings as well. So let's say you want to, the first thing you are seeing there is the energy mode. What energy mode would you want to use? You see USB, you see SUB, you see SBU, depending on what source of power you want to use as your priority. If it is SUB, you know, you navigate down to 1, which is our energy mode. Then you pick SUB, now click on enter, then navigate down to SUB, then press enter again to activate it as well. And every other settings that you want to make. I think I'll just show you the most important settings that you most likely want to make when you just install the inverter, right? So of course you want to check your you want to set your energy mode, right? And also the next thing you want to set is your battery charging mode. I mean your charging priority. Some clients will tell you that I only want panel to charge my battery. I do not want grid to charge anymore. So you navigate down to your battery charging mode, which is page 1, 2, right? Then you click your enter button, choose only solar. That is 0 OSO. But if you want both solar and utility to charge the battery, you navigate down to where you get S and U. That is solar and utility. Then you click enter button to activate that. And the next thing you want to set is that you navigate down, you press and hold enter button, gets to settings mode, navigate down to B1. B1 is where you choose your battery type, whether it is lead acid battery, lithium battery, or DC. Let's say you are using solar panels to panel your inverter directly alone, so you choose DC. So you just press enter button. By default, it comes with LA, lead acid battery. So once you connect your battery to the inverter, you have to set back to lithium. So you go to B1, press enter button, choose lithium, then it will appear as user on the screen of the inverter. But trust me, it's on lithium. That is our lithium display on it. And I think those are the basic settings. No need of any complicating settings again that you need to do unless you want to set the battery charging current, the battery discharge current, the DOD of the battery on the inverter, which I believe that if your battery is communicating with the inverter, those are the things that they set by itself, right? So move to the next slide. So yeah, so these are the other settings that you want to make. And I think the other one there is the one in the middle that I would think is of utmost importance is the parallel parameter settings. How do you set, if you have two inverters in parallel, after you have paralleled your system together, set the dip switch accordingly. Then you come to this place, press and hold enter button, navigate down to P0. The P0, the first thing you are seeing there is parallel mode. Are you parallel in a single phase or three phase? You choose whatever phase you are doing, and then you set which one is master. Then you set which of those systems is, how many of those systems you are connecting in parallel. Is it 4? Is it 3? Is it 6? Is it 9? P2 is where you choose the number of devices in parallel. P3 is where you choose the slave address. Now, let's say you have three inverters in parallel. The first inverter is the master, it's not the slave, so you cannot set slave address for it. The next inverter to the master will be slave one. So under slave address, you put one there, right? And the next inverter under the slave address, you put two there. So, and then the next thing you are having is battery sharing enable, which you can only set on master. That is where you give the inverters permission to share the same battery bank. So I think that is all I would want to say on the parameter settings. And the next thing you'll be seeing is just some of our projects that we have done with this inverter. The first one we are seeing is the 3 units of our inverter connected together in parallel with BCD battery. The next one we are seeing is the installation process of 2 units of our inverters connected together in parallel. And then these are our after sales engineers that will be readily available for support. We don't have any problem. We have more than enough engineers to support our installers. So this is also the picture of our installer, of our after sales engineers, going to site. We also go to site in case the issues you are having is not something we can resolve online. We send our after sales engineers to your site to fully support you on site. Yeah, so like I said the other time, we are going to we have listed out the battery brands that Alpsolarr Inverters is communicating with right now, right? So, and I'm saying that this list is not exhaustive. We have more battery brands right there that our inverters are communicating with. So the first on the list is the SVC, which is available in Ginex, BCD battery, Sonnet battery, Dynex battery, SRNA battery, ITEL battery, StarTimes battery, Seawatt, Sigma, CGSO, Max battery, New Felicity, the New Felicity battery with Camport, communicate with it, Luxon, Derry, Gauss Power, LV Thompson, Tiger Aid, and of course, Alpsolarr batteries. Those are the list of batteries that our inverters are communicating and well compatible with. And of course, these are some of our projects. If you look at the top very well, you see 4 units of our inverters connected in parallel. No, that screams scalability for me, right? And on Monday, I'll be going to commission 5 units of our first S3 inverter connected together in parallel for a boarding school in Festa. I'll be going for that commissioning. So this system is perfectly scalable for those of your clients that might want to start small. So thank you so much for following through. If you listen from the beginning till the end, I want to say a big thank you to you. So if you have any questions, I think this is the time for you to ask your question. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, moderator.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Steven. That was a power-packed section. And then we'll have a few minutes to address your questions. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat if you are not opportune to signify. So we'll take both questions from the chat and for those who have direct questions to ask the facilitator. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I think KG, our moderator, would join us quite soon. I think there was a network cut off on our end. While she get back to us, I see that we have some questions already. I would like to also thank Mr. Stephen for that very powerful session. So while she get back to us, I'll just go ahead from where she stopped. So we have some questions from starting from Olufolarin Olu. He asked the questions, please, where do I get your products? Yeah, you can get the Alpsolarr S2 and S3 from Genex Technologies. Would put in the chat box some of the phone numbers that you can reach out to. KG would also write that in the chat box for us so that we can have people to reach out to. So Genesis Technologies has the S2, the S3 available, and we'll hope to also have the 8 kilowatt that is coming soon, as Mr. Stephen mentioned. All right, so where is our office address? Okay, our physical office is in Ikate Lekki, Adebisi Ogunniyi Crescent in Ikate Lekki. That's where our office is. That's Genesis Technologies office where you can get the Alpsolarr and other products that we have available. As we also sell solar panels, we sell inverters, we sell batteries also, lithium batteries. Okay, I have a question. I don't know if KG is back up now, but I'll just continue. We have a question from HP. That's what your name is showing on Zoom. It says, nice presentation. From where I joined, wasn't able to pick from the start. Is there a way we can get a copy of the presentation in PDF for more enlightenment? So the session was recorded and would post before the end of the day, latest Monday, tomorrow morning, be on our YouTube platform where you can have this session that was recorded so that I can watch and see. However, the data sheet for the link to download data sheet for the Alpsolarr inverters available will also be shared in the chat box very briefly. I think KG is back, so she can take off from where I had stopped.
All right. Thank you very much, Josephine.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a question from Mr. Ganyu. He said, which of your inverter is recommended for use in a site located in a coastal environment? So I wouldn't know if Mr. Steven is back online, but I think I can address that. So for environments where within the coastal environment, we would actually recommend the IP66 inverters because they are built to withstand harsh weather environment.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, so we got another question here. Thank you for your presentation. So I just want to ask if the inverter is compatible with the year battery. Would also
Yeah,
verify that with the technical manager.
yeah.
Of course, I also didn't see.
Yes, it is. It is very
All right.
compatible with Deye battery. Yeah, very compatible.
All
We've
right.
installed 2 units of Deye. That was last week Saturday, and it's working perfectly fine. It's compatible with Deye.
All right. Thank you very much. So we are still hoping to take more questions. Okay, so we have a question from Mr. Yemi. Is your inverter compatible with the 15 kilowatt hour C-watt battery?
Yes,
Yes, it
ma'am.
is.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
All right. All right, thank you. So I believe that will be all. So thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. Thank you for the insightful section. I believe we all can
Welcome.
agree that today's discussion has provided clarity on the capabilities, performance, the performance strength, and installation considerations of the Alpsolarr inverters. So to everyone who joined us today, thank you for your active participation, your questions, and your commitment to staying ahead in the solar industry. And as you all know, at Genesis Technologies, our goal isn't just to distribute products, but to also empower installers and partners with the right knowledge. We will be sending out a recording of this webinar before the end of the week on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to follow us on our various channels. On YouTube is Genesis Technologies. On Facebook is at Genesis Technologies. On Instagram at Genesis Technologies. On TikTok at Genesis Technologies. And also, if you have further technical questions and product inquiries, please feel free to reach out to any member of our team. Would also encourage you to share your feedback, connect with us after this section, and stay tuned for upcoming editions of the Genex Expose series. Once again, thank you for being part of today's webinar. Have a productive day ahead, and we look forward to working with you. See you at the next
Thank you.
section. Bye. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
All right, thank you very much. There are still some questions there. Maybe we'll just take them individually with those people. So we'll just answer them. Thanks.
Oh, okay. All right. So be able to address, let's just quickly address these other two questions. We have a question from Samsung. How does your single phase inverter work as three phases?
Yeah, so the single phase inverter can work as a three-phase when you parallel two units of an inverter together. It has to be two units. The least unit you can parallel together to form a three-phase has to be three. That is why we give you the opportunity to parallel 9 units of an inverter in three-phase. So 3 units of those inverters with let's say you are paralleling those three. Each of those inverter will serve at each phase of the three-phase inverter. Yeah. So you connect them separately, and then you set the necessary parameters on the inverter to configure it as a three-phase system. Yeah. We have quite a number of three-phase systems that we have done so far with our inverter, both with the 11 kilowatt system and then the 6 kilowatt system.
All right. Thank you very much. So we'll quickly take this question from Mr. Jerome. So he asked, what is the maximum power your inverter can support? Use one as an instance.
So when I'm saying power, what power in what sense? Is it PV input power or um I think it should be PV input power. I believe so. So for a 6 kilowatt inverter, the maximum power it can take is 12 kilowatt, from the PV. And also for our 11 kilowatt system, it is 16,500. 16,500 watts, 16.5 kilowatt.
All right. Thank you very much. So we have a question from Mr. Debanjo Adini. Says, Haxon, kindly recommend a suitable inverter for a construction site.
It depends on their load need, their load estimation at the construction site. If it's something that is within the range of, let's say 50 kilowatt, I can recommend that you have multiple units of our 11 kilowatt system. Or if something more than 50 kilowatt, then I will recommend our CNI system, our 100 kilowatt by 200 kilowatt hour system, CNI system, depending on the load need of the site.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think that will be all for now. So thank you everyone for joining in. And also remember that proper knowledge and safety are our most important tools. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Thank you.
All right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mm.